Hey guys, David here, and welcome to Digital Outlook. Guys, I sure hope you've had an absolutely fantastic day thus far. Some big time deals are happening in this space, guys. And like I said this morning, I want to start to educate you so that you can literally see what is coming and why this is so fundamentally important. Now, one big deal that came out today, Garlinghouse got out there and he made a tweet, and I've got the tweet right here, and this is what he said. Very excited to share that BlackRock's BUIDL and VanEck's US V-Bill tokenized fund holders can redeem shares for RLUSD 24/7 through Securitize and soon to come RLUSD/XRP ledger. Guys, this is a major deal. Now, why is this such a big deal? Well, they put a little bit out here, but I want to draw something out, guys. BlackRock, in this product that they have already, it attracts more than $1 billion in assets by offering tokenized exposure to, guess what, US Treasuries. Now, why is that such a massive deal? Guys, the Genius Act, that act, in my estimation, was actually put together for one purpose and one purpose only, to float the US bucks, because of course the US dollar was sinking and is going to sink as a monetary asset around the wide world, because of course the petrodollar is dead. Now, we know Henry Kissinger back in the 70s under Nixon went and made that deal, with the OPEC countries and of course Saudi Arabia, that hey, any oil that was sold would be sold in US denominated dollars. Well, we know that's off the table now. So what has to happen so that the US dollar keeps its reserve currency status, now really maintains it? Because the fact is, yeah, it's on life support right now. In fact, I used to like to say, hey, it's already dead. We just haven't had the funeral yet. Well, guys, they've resurrected it in this capacity. With the Genius Act, one of the requirements for stablecoins is that they hold and are backed by US Treasuries. What do you have there when you do that? Well, you have a guaranteed purchaser for your debt, don't you? Now, it all begins and ends with the debt market. Do not kid yourself. It is all begins and ends with the debt market. Every other market is, dances to the debt market's tune. And one thing that we can see, guys, is this right here is pointing to this infrastructure. They are going to tokenize the debt market. They are going to tokenize the whole thing. And you're watching it happen right there. Now, you can literally utilize these products to go out there and securitize, these stablecoin transactions, utilizing, and you can do it 24/7, 365. Big time deal. And it's going to back US Treasuries. And the reality of our wide world is changing very, very fast. Now, Scott Bessent, Secretary of the Treasury, he was sitting right beside President Trump. Remember this? And he said, look, we're going to back the dollar with, stable coins. We're not backing stable coins with the buck. Did you hear that? We're going to underpin the US dollars with stable coins. That's what the Genius Act is all about. And when you start to peel back the onion and you realize, okay, for them to do that, there needs to be some sort of transitionary shift here, doesn't there? And that transitionary shift, guys, is a shift into a digital economy. Now, the U.S. Treasury very, very recently put out a call to get feedback on, guess what, guys? This is truly wild. And if I start doing these, where I'm doing these kind of giving you insights and educating you on news and that, I might end up doing them on my computer so I can actually show you the resources that I'm seeing and what I'm talking about. But they came out and they recently said, hey, look, we're looking for commentary specific to digital identity and being able to track and manage and validate, participants in the space. Guys, that is a huge part in this new digital economy. And what networks out there, what distributed ledger technology out there could handle that kind of volume? I mean, US alone, 370 million people? Now, when I was growing up, you had to reach a certain age and you would apply to get your social security number. In Canada, they call it social insurance number. You know where you get them now? You get them at birth, don't you? You get them at birth. These new digital IDs, guys, everyone's getting one. Everyone's getting one. Now, there's only a very, very, very few distributed ledger technology ecosystems that can handle the information in the decentralized digital identity space that does that. Of course, XRP is one. Hedera Hashgraph is another. XLM is another. Most of them are ISO compliant. Now, isn't that interesting? Now, ISO compliance, let's talk about that for a bit. When I say ISO compliant, because we're not really talking about the protocols themselves, none of these distributed ledger technology protocols are quote unquote ISO compliant. What it is their networks can facilitate the transactions, right? And that is it right there. They can be adjusted to do it. Now, there are two companies that were on the ISO 222 Messaging Standard Committee that were in this digital asset space. You know what they were? Ripple and Stellar. Look that up and research that for yourself. That is exactly what was going down. And you're seeing the infrastructure. This is just an indication of the infrastructure. Now, isn't it interesting that Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, is putting out a tweet and reporting that? Isn't that interesting? Why wouldn't that be reported by the mainstream media? Well, I'll tell you why. Because, guys, they're not ready for the whole masses to be clued in. That is why. Information, we know that the Fifth Estate, when I talk about the Fifth Estate, I'm talking about these news networks that may include even social media and all this kind of stuff. The information that is allowed to actually get out there into the public sphere is heavily, heavily controlled. Heavily controlled. Most of it is just distraction. Most of it is distraction. Not much of it is really news. A lot of it is opinion. Now, having been a federal officer for over 25 years, I was aware of certain things that would happen in treaties and this and that between countries and all that. You would never hear boo about those things in the regular, media out there. You wouldn't. Now, are there people on the inside that do know about those things? Oh, yes, absolutely, for sure. A lot of these major CEOs, right? You got Jamie Dimon over JP Morgan there, Larry Fink over BlackRock and all that. You don't think they know? You don't think that they know? Yeah, they know. They absolutely know. And the reality is they had talked down their book, right? Back at that time, Larry Fink saying, oh, we don't know anybody in our networks that are even interested in this space, this digital asset space, distributed ledger, not technology space. And of course, they use Bitcoin, but that word is synonymous for the entirety of crypto and their language, and how they talk to one another and all that kind of stuff. Their vocabulary, how about saying that? Jamie Dimon used to come out and he'd say, well, if any trader of mine, recommends Bitcoin, they're out. What was going on behind the scenes when he was saying that? Well, I'll tell you what I know. I know for a fact that they were out there building a trading desk, for Bitcoin and all that, to the tune of something like $400 million. While at the same time saying all this other stuff publicly. Larry Fink, same thing with BlackRock. Robbie Mitchnick, who actually worked at Ripple, went over and took over, the blockchain desk over at BlackRock, which when Larry Fink was saying all that, he was sitting there. You don't think, guys, that they were building the infrastructure of the change that is coming and what they're laying down? Do you actually believe that this is king of the castle? And remember when you were a kid and the kid would climb up on the sand hill and he'd go, I'm the king of the castle and you're the dirty rascals. And of course, you'd climb up there and the whole idea was the game was to topple him down from being the king of that little sand hill. And you got your turn up there. Well, the deal is this. Do you think that these guys are going to let any of us dirty little rascals get up there and pull them down? Come on, guys. Use your senses. They will literally bring out the big guns before they even let that happen. And they are building the infrastructure of what they want the majority of people conditioned into. And that's what it is. It's called social engineering. It has been going on for a very, very, very long time. And the goals that these guys lay down are not just goals that are for, just a couple weeks, maybe next year, maybe the next 5 years. No, these guys have made plans into the decades long. Now, in this distributed ledger technology space, and of course with XRP and that, it is not new, guys. We're going way back in a time machine, way back into the 1980s, where, a lot of these things started getting laid in. Way in advance. What is coming next is going to be a transition of such major proportions that in order for it to take place, there's going to need to be a catalyst because they're not going to be able to force it. People are going to want to have it. They are going to beg for it. When that happens, guys, this little thing right here, the thing that you and I have been participating in, the exponential move in utility that it's going to make is going to stagger the mind. It is. And the whole wide world is going to shift very rapidly, and we're very, very close to it. Very close to it, closer than what we have ever been. And I'm talking about the infrastructure being laid down. And I'm going to start showing you guys resources where you can go up and see this stuff for yourself. Now, I realize that good friends of mine have been kind of like silenced in saying this kind of stuff, but I want you to know. I want you to know. I want you to make it. My gosh, do I ever want you to make it. The more people that get through that door, are the better, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of the protection of our security and our anonymity, our sovereignty, if you will. We really need to band together and just help bring as many people along as we possibly can. We're not in competition with one another, guys. We're not. We are not. We are here to help you to get through that door and to understand the why behind the what and where it's going and how we are going to get there. Now, we can't lay it out perfectly because, there are some gaps, obviously. But boy, can we ever connect some dots. Right there, we sure can. And I love you, and I want you to make it. I want you to see it. Now, you take the information, you do with it what you will, but you could get all these people. I don't care what they are, what agency they work for, guys, because I've seen behind the curtain, and I know. And I know the games that these guys play and all that kind of stuff. We want you to make it because I'm going to tell you something. What's coming next after this, what's coming next? It is going to be bad. It's probably going to be the worst thing that the world has ever seen from a financial situation. And it has been building for a very long time. And then the door is going to close and the curtain is going to fall and boof, it is going to be on like crazy. You and I, we can benefit in the meantime and in the process. So don't miss the forest through the trees. Don't miss the forest through the trees. And I'm thinking about format because I love coming out here, guys. I love being the cheerleader. I love coming out here and sharing, like this. You and I just having a solid conversation. But, hey, sometimes it's hard to remember line for line and verbatim of what you want to say and the information you want to present. And, of course, people want to see the evidence. They want to see, the proof in the pudding. They want to see the resources you're looking at. And I would encourage that because I want them to go look behind the curtain themselves and the answers they find for themselves, the ones they're going to trust the most. Is that not true? And we can show them. We can connect those dots. We can bring people on here of high, noble character that can validate every word we're saying. That is for sure. And that's how I think the format will probably go. Now, it might take me a little bit to get all the way run up to that, but that is the goal. That is the goal, guys. It is the goal to get you there. And there are so many great things that you and I are going to discover along this journey. And I'm going to tell you something at the end of it. Wow. Are you ever going to have your eyes open? That's for sure. Now, like I say, make your own decisions. Do not buy into it just because it's my opinion or what I've had to say. Don't do that, guys. Don't do that. That's actually, you're not even being fair to yourself doing it. Take the information and be like the Bereans, in Scripture, where Paul went and presented what he had. Then they looked into it for themselves. Be like that. Have that kind of nobility. Look into it for yourself. Come up with your own conclusions. But I'm going to tell you that right there, and I will link the news article right down in here. You can read it for yourself. Is a major, major, major deal. And what is behind that right there? For BlackRock and Van Eck and all that and Brad Garlinghouse tweet. What is behind it? See, it's not just the what, it's the why. And all the information that's behind that make that possible. You see, it's a domino, isn't it? One has to fall before the next one, the next one, the next one, before you get to the end of that road. Now, you can look at where the domino is leading, and you can pretty much see what's about to happen. But you got to be able to set the dominoes up. You got to be able to identify it, don't you? And I'm telling you, there's ways in which you can. And that's my encouragement. So guys, buckle up because we're ready for the ride of our life. And do I ever believe we are about to see something that's going to result in the greatest wealth transfer in the history of mankind? And we are talking not just a life-changing opportunity, but a generational opportunity. And should Jesus tarry, how this could impact lives. Guys, we're talking about getting a seat at the table right there. How about that? So anyhow, guys, until tomorrow when we have another fantastic video for you, have a fabulous one and take care.